Good morning, everyone. My name is Gil Allouche, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Metadata.io. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, which is a very big buzzword right now in marketing and B2B marketing. And we're going to talk about how AI is not just being used for insights anymore, but actually how we can use AI for execution. Let me see how I make this one work. All right. So we start with a problem. B2B marketers today don't have the luxury of going into board meetings and talking about impressions, clicks, MQLs, leads, all kinds of vanity metrics that might have worked in the past. Today, a CMO in a B2B company has a year and a half, that's the average tenure for a CMO, to prove that they can generate predictable pipeline for their sales counterpart. They have a year and a half to do that. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to actually generate that pipeline. Because, as you guys may know, there are more and more technologies you have to operate in order to make that marketing operation work. You have your email marketing, your advertising channels, you have the data that you have to purchase, like a Zoom Info or Inside View. You have the tag managers, the optimized leads of the world, the CRM connectivity with your marketing automation. There are dozens of different applications for every enterprise that you have to operate. And so your team ends up actually kind of being enslaved to all the technologies you purchased, and you have spending all of your day operating those technologies. Very tedious, repetitive technical tasks. And the last kind of big challenge is that the data is siloed within those solutions. The data is not really free-flowing between your marketing automation and your advertising solutions and the data that you purchase from. These are kind of stuck within those solutions. And so you have to usually use a BI tool like a Tableau or a ClickView or a Spotfire to get the data out of those solutions and then do some analysis and then understand what worked in the past, maybe a week-old or month-old data. And that's a big challenge for marketeers because that's not very fast, agile way of doing marketing. Now, as the last few years evolved, we had three technologies that really made artificial intelligence applicable to marketing today. The first one is, of course, machine learning. You can today build a machine learning model that does regression or learns from past data and analyze vast amounts of data very easily. You also have RESTful APIs. Today, every application, every software solution that you guys use has a RESTful API, which is basically a protocol for software to speak to another software. So if today your team or you log in the morning to Marketo or to HubSpot and you load a bunch of data or a bunch of emails and you set up a new campaign, a new email blast, you do it in a manual fashion. You have to click a bunch of buttons and input some data, do some data entry, and then you can click and launch a campaign. But what if the software could actually operate itself? It already knows, based on historical data, what was successful, what wasn't successful. It already has all the connectivity to all the different solutions that you already have in place. What if it could actually operate itself, so you don't have to? And then finally, agile marketing is becoming more and more standard in B2B marketing. Agile came really from the development world, where developers used to plan ahead, maybe even a year ahead. They used to design and architect the entire solution and then code it. It will take them a long time, and there will be no changes. There was no room for changing the plan and the execution in the middle of the development time. So agile development came into practice where now development teams have 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes even 2 weeks sprints in which they quickly develop. They don't really know exactly how they're going to end up, but they make a lot of experiments and then they kind of audit themselves as time goes by. Agile marketing is very similar, where you don't necessarily do all the work ahead. You don't necessarily have your 20 campaigns for the year, but you have the next 2 or 3 or 5 campaigns for the month. And you work on them, you see if they were successful. If they were, you change them a little bit. If they were not, you eliminate them and you do something new. But the human brain can only sustain so much information. And so really it is limited to 4 or 5 campaigns that you can run every month. So agile marketing, together with AI, really allows you to get outside of your normal behavior and actually have a way for you, a process in which you can use artificial intelligence and the RESTful API to actually come up with a bot or with a self-driving car, if you will. But instead of driving your car, it will drive your marketing completely in automatic fashion. And that's what we're talking about here today in this session, how to actually leverage technologies today to completely automate your technical TDS tasks So you can focus on value-add tasks like positioning and messaging, marketing strategy, and other things that you can do better than a computer, at least today. So this is the blueprint. Metadata came up with a patented technology. We have a few US patented patents, and this is exactly the blueprint that we go through and we think is the best practice for running an agile demand generation process for a B2B company. And it starts with what worked in the past. And so the first few steps are essentially diving into your existing systems. As an example, if you were looking into your target accounts, you want to find out how to figure out who to go after next. Let's say one of your CEO or someone from your C-suite told you that they want to start running account-based marketing, and you're trying to figure out which accounts to go after first. One of the best things you can do is dive into your CRM data and, for example, pool all the opportunities that you have in Salesforce, rank them so that the $1 million opportunity is ranked higher than a $10,000 opportunity. And a $500,000 opportunity that was closed won within 3 months is ranked higher than a $100,000 opportunity that was closed lost after a year. So it first of all rank all the opportunities, then it enriches the information. So even if all you have in Salesforce, and many times that's the case, if all you have is just the name of the person you sold to and the name of the company and maybe the job title, with third-party data sources like ZoomInfo and InsightView and HData and Bombora and G2 Crowd, all of those are public data sources now that you can purchase the information from. Those will provide you with all the rest of the information about the company or the buyer persona or personas that you sold to. So for example, HData can give you the back-end technologies of the companies you sold to. Bombora can give you the keywords or the categories that those companies were looking and searching for and reading about when they were purchasing your solution. And that's really helpful because the exercise here is to go back into whatever worked and successfully and do more of it. And so by analyzing what worked in the past, you can actually find your profile of your ideal customer. And you can have multiple ideal customers. You can have an ideal customer for your top 10 percentile deals. You can have your ideal customer for your competitive deals, for your fastest deals. You can have all kinds of ideal customer profiles that you can then turn into total addressable market. You can quickly turn a profile into a list of companies and particular people within those companies. Because in B2B marketing, as you know, there is no excuse of marketing to everyone. You can actually narrow down your marketing fairly effectively, and you know exactly what companies and what people within those companies you need to target. And so that's the practice we're going through here. First, you start by pulling the data from the CRM and understanding who did you sell to successfully. Then you go into your marketing automation and other systems and understand what channels worked, what assets were most compelling to your buyer personas, what creative did they click on, what campaign types are more effective. And by effective, we're trying to figure out really what built pipeline in the most effective way, most economical way. And so those are the first few steps. So we have the ideal customer profile, we have a few of them, and then we turn those into actual audiences. Audiences are essentially a list of companies and people within those companies. Right after that, we recommend uploading those audiences, particularly to the advertising channels. We don't think that using criteria on the advertising channels is an effective way of doing marketing because you don't really know exactly who you market. When you go on Facebook and you put, I'm going after this job title or after these Facebook groups, or when you go on LinkedIn even and you put, I'm going after this skill set and these job titles and this seniority, they give you a count, but that's it. You can actually dive into the actual audience that LinkedIn generated for you and preview exactly who you're going after. And so you may get a lot of unqualified leads, and you may spend a lot of your budget and your time going after the wrong people. And so we recommend in B2B marketing only to go after a pre-targeted, if you will, audience. And so that's what we do here. Once you have those audiences in place, these are usually CSV files of companies and people to go after, you upload them as an audience, as a custom audience, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on the programmatic advertising, on Google. All of them support that today. And we recommend that that's the way you start marketing and advertising. And so once you have those audiences ready, and one tip here is to actually use as many PII, personally identifiable information, that you can get about those people. And by PII, I mean personal email, corporate email, cell phone, mobile device ID, any key that you can use, because the more keys you upload to those advertising channels, the higher the match rate of cookies that you can get and advertise them. And so once you have those audiences ready, then you go into the actual execution of ads. And that's where metadata comes into place, where we have a multivariate experimentation engine that actually tries every collateral, every creative, every channel, every campaign type, every audience that you've selected, and starts experimenting with those ads and creating not 5 campaigns or 10 campaigns per month, but thousands of campaigns per month. And those can very quickly be eliminated if they don't generate good results, but they can be cloned and multiplied and actually get more and more budget if they do generate pipeline. And so the idea is to go through this process on an ongoing basis with a feedback loop where you see what leads are being generated from those campaigns. Those turn into MQLs, SQLs, and the pipeline, and those that generate pipeline get more budget and you create more of them. So just to repeat the steps, you start with the analysis, then you go into the targeting, then you actually do the engagement, the execution of the ads, and then do rinse and repeat. You keep seeing what works, what doesn't work, and it's important to do the analysis not on vanity metrics like impressions and clicks, which the advertising channels will already do for you, but you actually want to do the optimization based on pipeline, because that's what you eventually have to report on. If you said you use $100,000 of media spend and you generate $500,000 opportunity, that's a win. If you use 50K of ads and you generated 30 leads, but you don't know what happened, or even 300 leads, and you don't really know what happened with those 300 leads, that's not a good outcome. And so this is the metadata solution. The idea with metadata is to solve all of the technical tasks that today you have to do in a manual fashion. And so literally in the platform, there are 2 components. The first component is a data component. And so metadata has a large search engine, if you will, that already includes all the files from ZoomInfo and InsideView and AG Data and Bombora and all the companies that we mentioned before. So you don't have to go and purchase data manually. You don't have to normalize the data. You don't have to join the data together, enrich it. None of those tasks are really a good use of your time anyway, and those are done much faster and much more accurate fashion by a computer. Secondly, the other component in the platform is, as I mentioned, is the execution engine. So when you want to start doing agile marketing, the concept is to try out your likely to succeed campaigns. If you have an agency, if you hire an agency, the agency is going to try to come up with the most creative idea, the best tagline, the best creative, the best banner, the best collateral, the best picture, so on and so forth. But what if they don't shoot exactly to the right idea? You're going to get a waste, and it's very, very hard when you have so much collateral and so much content and so many personas to go after to mix and match. The CTO you may be selling to is interested in a total cost of maybe an architecture diagram, and the financial decision maker might be interested in total cost of ownership. They might be looking for different content completely, and if you try to hit or miss with a particular creative, you may not go that far. But if you actually go through the experimentation method, which is the only scientifically proven method to reach an optimization state, you can go through as many experiments as you need, and very quickly you can see which collateral works best with what creative, on what channel, with what persona, against what named accounts, and that will just come up automatically. You have like a classic kind of bell curve. Most of the experiments will not work, but the 20/80 rule will apply, and 20% of your campaigns will be amazing. They will generate ROI that you've never seen before because you went through 1,000 different campaigns. And for a computer to go through 1,000 campaigns, it's a matter of hours. And so highly recommend to try to apply that particular mechanism when you actually start executing campaigns. One thing I forgot to mention is that the optimization when you run, when you execute campaigns with metadata, the optimization is done based on the final outcome. And so because metadata is connected to your Marketo or HubSpot, to your Salesforce, to your Facebook, to your LinkedIn, to your Twitter, to all those data sources, etc., the longer you let AI execute and optimize campaigns for you, the further down the funnel you can actually optimize towards. So if in the first week, you can only optimize towards impressions and clicks, maybe some leads, after a month or 2 months, if your sales cycle is a month and a half, you can actually start optimizing towards bookings. So imagine you have an AI operator or some kind of a bot that just sits down and runs campaigns for you all day long, and as you guys close deals, you start seeing the AI learning what works, what doesn't work, and automatically changing your campaigns. This is possible to do today. So what are the ROI? Eventually, when you purchase a solution or you want to pitch a new mechanism like account-based marketing or agile marketing or using AI in your campaign execution, you have to talk about ROI because eventually that's what the CRO, even the financial decision maker is going to look for. How much pipeline or how much booking did you generate for this budget that I gave you? And so there are 3 things that you get with AI and with a solution like metadata. The first one is you save a lot of time. So the marketing teams are not bored, they're not making mistakes, they're not inside the Excel sheet all day. They're spending time on value-add tasks. interesting tasks, coming up with new strategies, new experiments, coming up with new campaigns, with new creative, new content, things that people signed up for when they studied marketing in school, less than doing A/B testing and buying and segmenting data. The second thing that you get is optimization. And so one of the biggest metrics that we see is for sales. Sales start getting, first of all, they're part of the actual work. So usually there is like this big tension between sales and marketing because they're not really part of the work. They get some results. If they like it, they say they close it on their own. If they don't like it, they blame you marketing for it. That's a classic tension. But you can solve this, partially at least, by involving them in the process. So with a solution like Metadata, or even forget about Metadata for a second, if you just use the custom audiences and you upload them to the different advertising channels, you can actually preview and confirm those audiences with your sales counterparts. So you can show them, hey, my CRO friend or VP sales friend, take a look at those 500 accounts that we think are the best accounts to go after. Do you confirm that if you get those accounts as an inbound lead, you'll be delighted? Can you close those deals? Are these the kind of accounts you're trying to go after? And when they say yes, now you have their buy-in into the process and they're part of your operation. And so one of the big metrics that they get, other than just getting a predictable inbound flow, is the lead to opportunity conversion rate. One of the big metrics that we see is the lead to opportunity conversion rate either doubles or more. So for every 100 leads, if you generated one opportunity until now you can generate 2 or more. And that's something that we've seen over and over. We just had a big customer, public company, that cut their budget by half and were able to still get to the same result they got in the previous quarter. Just because the end result, the end ratio doubles itself, so you can start playing with the different numbers. And then, of course, the C-level executives, what they care about most is getting a predictable pipeline. If they know that they need to achieve $50 million more next quarter, and that's the pipeline they need to create, because the ratios are so clear, you know exactly how many impressions you need to get to this many clicks, to this many leads, to this many MQLs, SQL, pipeline, and dollar number, you can pretty much guarantee, with a small standard deviation, that you can achieve that number with this budget. And you don't have to worry about executing the marketing mix because the AI does it for you. So you have the kind of predictability that you can provide to your C-level executives of, if we need to get this number, this is the budget I need, and I know how to execute to get there. So finally, I wanted to give you a quick graph as proof that AI is becoming more and more kind of status quo for some of the most innovative companies out there. We're a small startup, so we only launched actually in the first quarter of last year. And so in 2017, we ran a total number of campaigns was 50. Very, very small campaigns. We only had a few customers. The last quarter, we ran about 30,000 campaigns. And that's an outcome of two things. One, the longer a customer runs campaigns, the more comfortable they get with AI running campaigns. Because it's kind of a little creepy in the beginning to have like a bot running all of your campaigns for you. It's kind of scary. But today, one of our customers, just by itself, they run about $2 million worth of media budget on the platform. They put all of the brand awareness, retargeting, account-based marketing, demand generation, top of the funnel. All of their campaigns are on Metadata because it works. And the second thing, the more customers run campaigns on the platform, the smarter the AI becomes. So we have something like 6 cybersecurity companies now running campaigns on the platform. The 6th that recently joined is benefiting from all the previous cybersecurity companies that already ran all those campaigns. It's, the network effect is taking place. So this is my last slide. I'd like to introduce you to Peter Tarrant, one of our customers, and an ABM practitioner at Tipalti.
Thanks everyone for being here so early. So my company that I work at, Tipalti, was founded in 2010. We're headquartered in San Francisco, and we most recently raised $30 million of funding. Our mission is to really give CFOs the ability to automate their payables solutions. So we focus on a lot of digital companies, and we break that down into a lot of silos, which I'll get into later. It's actually on the slide. Ad tech, online marketplaces, online services, and e-commerce are some of our biggest industries that we go after. A big example of our largest customer being Twitch. So all of the people that are streaming themselves playing video games have to get paid somehow, and Twitch chose us to use to pay all of the streamers. And then if they have a more traditional accounts payable workflow, then we integrate with NetSuite and QuickBooks Online. So we've been working with metadata for about 2 years now, and some of the biggest challenges being going after such niche targets. We have ebooks and white papers that focus on these different subsegments of the digital industry, but to be able to target those industries individually is very difficult. And then we also have a very good marketing operations team, so we have a ton of accounts already in our CRM and Salesforce. So being able to find net new leads can be difficult at times. And then also sales alignment. We actually, I think, have one of the better sales and marketing teamworks going on for a company of our size. We're 130 total employees, and the sales team between SDRs and sales reps is about 50. Marketing is about 11, so we do have good buy-in from the sales team. But at times, personalization from the sales reps when they're reaching out and seeing what someone initially came into our system or found out about Tipalti can be difficult, but we're training the sales reps a lot more. And then success reporting. Obviously, this is universal in marketing, but how do we show the data to prove ROI on different programs that we're implementing? So we, really briefly to go through this, we have a tiered ABM approach. So tier 1, we focus on 30 name brands that rotate in and out, but these are all logos that we want to get in the door. Like we just landed Postmates, which was a huge win for us. And this is more personalized with landing pages with the company's name in it and ads that have their name as well. Tier 2 is digital and NetSuite. So if it's a digital company that has NetSuite, I didn't include QuickBooks Online because that's a new traditional ERP partner that we have. But if they have digital and NetSuite or QuickBooks, that's an immediate win and someone that we can definitely talk to. So we're doing custom drift flows for those companies, and we're also sending them direct mail and invites to our events that we're hosting around the country. Then tier 3 is if they're digital or have the ERPs that we integrate with. And I didn't mention the size of companies, so we split our sales team into companies that have up to 100 employees, and then up to about 1,000 is our enterprise team. So not massive enterprises, but some sizable companies in there that have to pay a lot of people. All right, so for our strategy and how metadata helps us on the digital side, so through metadata we run programmatic advertising and also social on Facebook and LinkedIn. So the hardest thing on our end is to align our creative, our copy, and our actual offers. So metadata makes it super easy to test all of those variables. So if we're running specific text with an offer that we have, and it's not working, it's super simple to swap that out with a new ad copy that will hopefully work, and you can keep iterating upon that. And then also segmenting audiences. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can only target by the internet industry, which is the closest match to our digital subsegments, but it's not segmented down that much. So through metadata, we can focus on technographic details, demographic, and firmographic. So we can really break it down and focus our different offers on the perfect audience. And then also, obviously, the processors. So through metadata, you can do all the UTM parameters, create them right on the platform, and then also easily sync to Marketo and Salesforce. So Facebook, if you guys aren't already advertising on Facebook, Facebook's really good for a low cost per lead. And this is what we found out mostly through testing with metadata. So Facebook, low cost per lead. LinkedIn is much better lead quality. And through programmatic on the trade desk, brand awareness is key, because you're not going to get as many conversions because there's much more noise where programmatic advertising shows up, but it is great for brand awareness, and you can get more visibility on what companies are actually seeing and clicking on your ads. And what kind of marketer would I be without creating some sort of memorable term to describe our strategy? And I came up with Maven. So the M is for multi-channel coverage, which I mentioned, and that goes into direct mail. We do syndicated content on another team. But on my side, the ABM is all through metadata with programmatic and social advertising. Audience exhaustion awareness. What you really need to know, especially on social, is if you see the reach or anything, any of your important metrics go down, you have to change something up, especially if you want to keep targeting the same audience. So whether that's just throwing a different creative in there, you just have to be aware and ready to swap out an ad, because if you keep putting the same thing in front of the same audience, it's not going to work out in the long run. And then variation of creative and copy, that goes into the exhaustion also. So you just have to have a good team and strategy to switch up your ads when you're ready. Experimentation control. Like I mentioned in the last two, it's very important to have that rotation, but it should be controlled. So at the start of each quarter, it's important to have your strategy for what offers and ebooks and creatives you're going to be running for that quarter going forward. And then lastly, the N is for nurture versus net new. It's obviously great to get a lot of net new leads, but to nurture your existing leads and prove to them that you're a legitimate company by having their CFO and decision makers seeing your ads wherever they go on the internet is very valuable as well. Here's some of our results before and after metadata over a 8-month, 9-month period. So as you can see, everything from our number of campaigns that we were able to experiment, number of leads from social and display, our SQLs and total of opportunities sourced from social and display increased substantially. So yeah, that's really it for our metadata strategy. Thank you, Gil, for allowing me to speak here. And we'll open the floor for questions.
Does anyone have a question to Peter or to me about either executing on account-based marketing or about AI in marketing? All right, looks like we're all set. Thank you very much for attending today's talk. It was our pleasure. If you want to hear more about metadata, you feel free to, of course, get in touch with me or send us an email. Both of our emails are here on the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.